working on Microsoft Copilot Studio and Power Platform and Power Automation, to providing AI technical solutions to enterprise. I usually working in different systems like either Oracle, Microsoft, many different service, and I have a proven track record in designing different solutions across the organization to help AI the practical adoption. And the agenda would be in 3 sections. First, it's agent identity evolution. Second is risk-based governance framework, and the third is designing trust beyond control. So before starting everything, I have this image for comparison. Since 2025, as we know, AI has become a buzzword everywhere. We have OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic Claude, and Microsoft Copilot. And even though there's so many tools showing up in the beginning, but we can see we are using AI as more like assistants, and we are just like using it to typing the prompts, asking questions, and expecting AI to answering questions accordingly. So we are the pilot. We are still the drivers to drive this powerful and the fancy airplane to do our work. But things change super fast after the end of 2025. We have agentic AI showing up. I would call it the new world of agentic AI. So after that, we have AI as a pilot, and we are delegating different roles to AI in the enterprise. So we are delegate roles to AI, and AI has the capability to do reasoning, planning, and execution, and even operation by using tools like Power Platform and Copilot Studio, etc. It's this transition from AI's role is changing from assistance to a proper agency in the business. As we can see, we are changing from the people who driving the airplane become the people behind the AI agent to monitoring it for looking it to do his job. We can actually imagine in the upcoming years would be we have different agents. Some of them has the capable of adding records on your CRM database, and some of them can approve the client request on the email. And some agents can have like even spend money or make lightweighted decisions in the pre-design workflow. So after all this series of actions starting to happen, we have been realized we are not talking about a Q&A chatbot or asking question anymore. It's more like how to onboarding a digital employee or a digital worker into an enterprise system. So I would use an old saying goes would be not all of the enterprise is collapsed with like a small mistake. So everything will be starting from very small. For example, we have people paste the sensitive PII into a chatbot while drafting a financial report. Maybe some of them put a very powerful but free LM API into their internal website, or either some of them log into an AI SaaS application using their personal email or personal mobile. These actions may seem very harmless and they may not very related. However, the consequences of these small behaviors is actually creating something called shadow AI. And what is shadow AI? Maybe some of you have heard, some of you may not. Shadow AI is not an evil AI. It's more like an AI is operation fully outside your organization and nobody know what is happening and no visibility and no ownership. And they're just quietly running outside of the compliance and governance. This kind of small things is going to create a risk of a governance gap, because without a proper guardrail, the digital workers is likely to create chaos across the business. I have been concluded into this image with 3 different patterns. So the first would be an sprawl. For example, we will have like more than one agent working on the same thing, but nobody noticed it. It's duplicating it. And another would be an old created outdated agents, like some people created like 1 year ago. It's still running in the backend. It's still viewing your data and capturing your logs, but nobody know as well. And the second is it's creating a shadow IT agent. So shadow IT agent is shadow AI is involved to shadow IT agents. This shadow agent would bypass your database service. It would get access to a managed service or either go into your external cloud, but nobody know it because it's still under your organization talent. And all this kind of behavior we can see is easily bypass your gatekeeper to get the information inside your business. And the very last part would be the data leaks. So after all of the shadow IT agent and the sprawl continuous accumulated, we will have a exposure more likely the PII data or the sensitive data is starting to expose to the public. So that's the governance gap where it's gonna to happen. We don't have a proper guardrail or the governance working. And I will come to the section 1, the agent identity evolution. So when people first talking about an identity, we will think about who is being able to access to where. But if we are talking about the identity for your digital employee, for your agent, that will be more likely what kind of the scope it can go and what kind of the boundary it can access. You can be imagined in a simple scenario. If you are an HR, you have a new employee onboarding to your business, and this new employee is knowledgeable. He's working 24/7. He is super high intelligence. And will you give this new employee like a company car in the first day without any access? I'm pretty sure the answer is no, because that employee is too powerful. So instead of giving an office car without any access, we need to define what role this agent is sitting and what scope is gonna to under, and what kind of reporting line, what kind of the business domain is belong to, and what decision boundaries it was sitting. So we can target the agents like HR to onboarding a new employees. I have been concluded into the following 4 pillars. The creation, who is allowed to build the agents? For example, is it the AI engineer or the data engineer or the data team? And the scope is what is the agent allowed to do? Is it only allowed to have the read and view access, or it can do like adding or deleting? And the access is what kind of the data layer the agent are capable to read and write. And accountability is who is responsible if all this series of action is keep happening, who is gonna take accountability for the output and take the ownership of the result. And so governance is more like a framework to turn the tools into a accountable digital employee. I would suggest to build a accountability link between the human owner and to our agent. We can do by have a unique service principle or manage the agent identity through the Ultra ID. And this kind of the setup can also be acquired by role-based access control. For example, if your agent would be under the procurement team, so given the role, basic access of the procurement, and this identity link would link to an agent to a proper business owner. Come to the section 2 would be a Microsoft governance framework. This is a Microsoft 365 service boundary. As we can see, this architect is to ensure all of the human input and all of the LM response is under the 365 talent. As we can see, the first part, people from either Teams or OneDrive or Mailbox, from some of the Microsoft service, they have a user input, and using the Microsoft Graph to have access to all of different data. And on Another layer for this is the work IQ, which is the intelligent layer. Work IQ will help to identify your organization, your project, and even your business structure. And after this second part, we move to the third part would be a large language model processing. It would help to have all of the response, putting it to Azure OpenAI. And this is putting all under the transition is ensure the data is in encryption. And after that, we will get the response to deliver on your device. Reason I was showing this boundary architect is to showing under a Microsoft ecosystem, all of your agents build or your LM inputs would be or make sure they're under all of the talent gap, the talent area. So that's issue is all secure. The reason I will show this architect flow is to showing all of the activity of your agents, and it would be respect the user's existing permission and the data resistance requirement, and also encrypt all of the our data have been uploaded or download in the response of the agent. Is the agent governance. So a governance is like a framework of policies and control that oversight to ensure the AI agents is operate safely and is scalable enough to adopt in your enterprise. Here I have working on a risk score-based governance calculation matrix. So all of the impacts and likelihood would be assigned to a different number. The measurement of what is the risk level of the different agents would be the likelihood happen of the risk and the impacts, how high it is. For example, the higher of the impact, like catastrophic, it will have a higher number like 5. If it's a very low possibility to happen, the potential risk, it will be only 1 and 2. And this is not like a calculation we're fitting for every scenario. It needs to be case by case. But I would suggest if we have some agents we are building on to be adopted to different teams, we can use the risk measurements beforehand to know what kind of the impact it will make. And here is the Microsoft tier governance framework under the security in design. There will be 3 different tiers of the impact. The lowest one would be the tier 1, the personal productivity. This one would have like a low impact. This kind of agent would be very narrow scope and with a well-defined task and not have any access to your sensitive data. It cannot do any actions, operation to your database. For a real life example, it may be your calendar assistance. So this agent will only have access to your personal calendar or your work calendar to read your project timeline or reading what is your meeting happen. So this kind of agent doesn't have many power. So to governance the personal productivity agents, we just need a basic ownership, maybe just working for myself. And we can also have a life circle tracking to prevent a sprawl. So prevent we have multiple small agents working in the backend. And the second tier is called the departmental automation. This kind of agent would have medium impacts compared to the light impact tier 1. What is the meaning of the medium impact? So this kind of agent can do automation tasks, but this task will be a bit complicated. You will need some of the integration to your Dataverse or to your CRM. But it's all under a defined scope. For example, we have an agent working for our project managers, and this kind of agent can only work under the scope of the, for example, your Teams meeting translation, or your project time frame, or your Confluence Jira task. So it's all under some kind of a scope in there. And based on the scope is given, so the agents have the capable to generate, for example, your project description, your project outline, and reading information from your Teams channel. For the agent has a medium impact, the governance would be it needs to define a clear identity and a clear scope. If the agent is only under a project business team, it cannot have the access to other team, and also have a regular review of what this agent is working on, checking it from time to time. And the very last would be have a monitor logs. And the very last part would be the tier 3 agents. I think this one is quite critical impact to the business. I will call it the critical autonomy. So this kind of agents would have the capable to make autonomous decision and handle sensitive data like PII, personal information, or financial reports, have the reading the money, or perform a irreversible actions. And I will give a very brief example, like maybe a financial agent that can reading your invoice or your the transaction report, and it have the capable to do some of the record adding in your Excel. And to have a governance to this type of agent, we need a strict identity. We can manage identity by assigning a unique service principal or Ultra ID, and make sure there's a role-based access control if it's only for finance team and given a role like under finance agent. And the third would be have a comprehensive logging for all of the decision this agent made. And the very last would be the human in the loop. Make sure if some of the decision would be quite need senior people to involve, we will need to design this as a critical steps in the workflow. And we will move to the final section, would be how to design trust beyond the control. Because the higher the autonomy we have ahead in the agents, we will require a higher accountability. So before this presentation, I have a talk with a Microsoft Customer Success Manager. I want to understand from the customer perspective, what kind of the challenge or concerns they're currently facing in the governance or security. From they told me it's want to know what is the correct governance approach when the business really embedded agents across all of their people's daily workload. How can we ensure the visibility, and also how can we operationalize it in a scalable way? So I think there's many different approach we can do that. The first would be a optimized clean data flow, because if you have data in a massive different channel, it's very hard to cleaning up. And the second is to have a secure pipelines building, and don't use something free online and then some free API, because that's quite have a risk. And the third would be scalable innovation. And the fourth would be self-service access, because instead of locking everything down or letting the agents have the risk to create chaos, we can enable a safe self-service. And here is the four bullet points I have been concluded. By designing a identity and guardrails in Microsoft 365 can help us to operationalize our agents in a more secure way. The first is manage a clear identities for all of your different agents. Create the principles for each of them with a granularly permission, like read and write and all of the access, and with a clear ownership chains. Because if some of the behaviors goes wrong, we know who to talk to and where we can looking at. And the second is a conditional access policy. It can apply a context-aware restriction to base on the sensitive data and the risk it to limit some of the behaviors. And the third is an information barriers. This is to prevent agents from accessing and maybe sharing the data across different places, because we don't want some of the data would let whole organization know if it's only under one of specific domain. And the last would be an audit and compliance. This can leverage the Microsoft Purview to do a monitoring logs for the agent activity and also detect the anonymous, and to maintain a compliance records to know and track what the agent is working on. I have put a very high level logic flows here to show how this is really how it is gonna work. So for example, if the like a procurement agent is working here, to moving forward for the agent to have a decision, there can be a logical set in here, like, is it the procurement value is larger than $10,000? If it is larger than certain amount of the money, we need to route it to a much senior people or route it to for human approval, because we cannot relying on the AI judgment for some critical limits, and we need to use a determined code to define. And how to achieve that, we can use Power Platform approval or the logic ads or the prompt book if someone use in the AI Studio. So this is helping to prevent the overreach. And because if we don't have the logical setup, it will just directly jump to auto process. Here is the benefits. If we have a governance in place, it can prevent the sprawl, reduce a duplicate effort, have more than one agents working in your business, and also protect your sensitive data and stop the unintended risk is happen, and also enable trust. The stakeholder know when the stakeholder know who owns the agent, and they know where to working, collaborating with the people, more trust with them, and also scales adoption. It can allow the organization to have more confidence to adopt AI and to say yes to the future experimental or the innovation. And in here, I have write this agent lifecycle management. So agents from the create and to the end of life, there would be in three parts, will be beginning, middle, and the end. So the beginning is for agent creation. I would suggest to use a environment setup, for example, like your pilot environment, your development, integration, and production environment. And different environment would have a policies to define who is allowed to edit, who can publish it. And the middle would be doing all of the updates to managing different agent versions in the middle period. And there will be an ownership transfer. This would be if someone under the team is leaving, so we would know what is the other people gonna working on this agent, kind of like a protocol for we know who is taking the ownership and who to talk to. And the final is retirement. If we decided the end of life for the agent, we need to remove all of the unnecessary access for the business people, and also archiving the data, not leave it there running in the background. Because without a proper lifecycle management, there would be a very high likelihood for the risk happen. So we suggest if we have an agent building to design the beginning, middle, and the end. This would be the very last piece of the presentation. It's I think the future for agent usage is more about accountable, because now I think the question is no more than like, can we do this or can we do that? It's more like, can we trust this? Can we have more people starting to use it? But trust doesn't come from how powerful it is. It more comes from security in design and the boundary you set up and the accountability. I guess that's everything. Thank you so much for listening.